I've said this before and I'll say it here. I don't think leaders need more strategy necessarily. I've worked with a lot of organizations. They've got great strategy. They don't necessarily need a lot of influence, but they need courage.
They do.
They need to give themselves permission, not just to make mistakes, but to forge a path.
There's a true greater opportunity that happens when you have diverse, inclusive leadership.
Diversity breeds innovation, creativity, richness of experience and background. And the other thing that I want to say is diversity isn't just race. When we think about diversity, we're talking about diversity of skill and background and experience and region. And that lends a richness of experience that I think organizations can benefit from boomers to alpha. Understanding that and being intentional about that experience and that skill set and that background, that also brings a richness of work together and sort of what businesses can produce.
What are some of the patterns that you've seen over the years as it comes to, equitable spaces, leadership that's diverse and innovative? Where are some of those common pitfalls that you've seen over the 20 years? I would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, so
Hey, yo, welcome to the Seeding Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Darryll Stinson, man, and I have a special guest, Dr. Matisa Wilbon. Man, I've been coaching her for a couple years. I first met her as a speaker for my TEDx stage. It's like we had, several hundred applications, and we require people to send in a written application and a video. And a lot of times when we're going through so many videos and so many written applications, you're just trying to find something that moves you, that grabs you. And when I clicked her, I was like, oh, that's what I'm talking about. And she was talking about grief of all things, in a TEDx talk. And I could feel the spirit. I could feel the difference. We sat down at First Watch and had nothing. I can't describe it as any other way than a divine moment.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh God, look at how far we've come. Watched her go in and out of college education as a professor, watched her consult nonprofits, associations, heard her preach so many times, and she got that fire. And so I'm so excited that we get to hear from her professional side today. I'm gonna try to contain this little preacher, but again, y'all know we like to go there. So let me read her official bio for those of you who are unfamiliar with her. Dr. Matisa Wilbon is a consultant and TEDx speaker, two-time TEDx speaker, who uses her 20 years as a sociologist. How do I say that?
Sociologist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can y'all tell that this is not my friend? I'm gonna start over. Dr. Matisa Wilbon is a consultant and TEDx speaker who uses her 20 years as a sociologist, I think I said that right, and equity and impact strategist to help institutions understand the power of equity. She earned her BA in anthropology, sociology from Centray College in Kentucky, where she's from. She's from Hazard, Kentucky. She received her master's and PhD degrees in sociology from the Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio. She's a former tenured associate professor. She's taught university courses, centered leadership, race and ethnicity, and structural inequality. Dr. Wilbon has a unique way of communicating her scholarship practically to her audience. She's the CEO of Wilbon Enterprises, a consulting firm that specializes in equity, inclusion, and impact, strategic planning, and training for universities, organizations, and nonprofits across the country. She consults, customizes, and implements equity and impact plans that move organizations from awareness to action. She's also a published author of Good Grief. She also leads a Disrupt Her community of women who are taking full responsibility for their calling and their purpose in life. And man, I already told you, she's a dynamic speaker. So Dr. Matisa, I'm so excited to share you with our audience today.
Thank you.
Can we just go right in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you let us know about your journey? Okay. Tell us, from where you were born to how did you develop such a, rich skill set to help in the areas that you're helping the world with?
First of all, I'm so excited to be here. This is like a long time coming. It's funny you took me back to First Watch.
Yes.
And when we met, and I don't know if you remember, but even before I applied to do the TEDx, my favorite park to walk in is Alexander Park. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that.
But when I saw,
yes,
because it was TEDx Alexander Park.
I know, yes.
And so it was such a divine.
And you were already walking there. See,
I was already walking there.
And what's crazy is I would walk there sometimes too, especially after we picked the name. I would just, because I wanted to feel the energy of the space and stuff. And so we probably just missed each other.
We were in the same space.
Isn't that crazy?
Always been in the same orbit. That's cool. So how did I get here? So small town, Hazard, Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky. You know, really rich culture of community there, but really, I would say absent of diversity. A lot of people who look like me were related to me, and had a great childhood, great, experience. But when I went to college, I realized that some of the experiences that I had were not as good as I thought, right? So even though it was a rich kind of Southern culture, microaggressions, things said, some intentional, some unintentional. So when I went to college, I was just exposed to more difference. I was exposed to people from the city, exposed to people of other religions, other cultures. And that got me on the path of inquiry, right? I was just always interested in people, people who were different, people who were not like me. And with that, sociology became my academic choice. And sociology for me opened the world because it exposed me again to different structures, different cultures, different way of how institutions worked. That became the thing that I was really interested in. Went to graduate school because I wanted to teach college. Knew I needed to get a PhD to do that at The Ohio State University. While we were in graduate school, we certainly beat Michigan.
We beat Michigan. Remember, I'm seeing you now. But y'all would have tore us up. Except for when I played there. We was 23rd in the nation, and y'all was like 12th.
Listen, I'm not even a football fan, but I just had to throw that in. But anyway, it just took me on this path. People. Yeah. Really, when I think about it, it was all about people. At the same time that I was in graduate school, I was called to the ministry. So now God is calling me to people in a different way. So I was on these two paths at the exact same time. Took a lot of classes around family and around juvenile delinquency and around inequality, and thinking about how all of those things work together. Once I started teaching full time, I taught in a university setting very much like the one that I attended as an undergrad. And Darryll, that undergrad, there were 24 students of color on the entire campus.
The entire campus.
How many,
campus.
It was about 1,000 students. It's a small private school. But 24 out of 1,000.
I know.
Teeny tiny. So it did a couple of things. It made us closer, so we were kind of like a family unit, but it also forced me to be an advocate in a way that I'd never done before. So as an undergrad, like I remember, now I'm dating myself, this was in the 90s, we didn't have any, like we were in class on MLK Day. That was a big deal.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
To think that.
Yeah, like that wasn't that long ago, but it was long enough ago that people were not acknowledging that day. So we, as a tiny little group of people, boycotted. We didn't go to class. We started learning to raise our voices for the good of the whole. That was my first foray into what I do all of these years later. And we didn't have any Black professors. We had no Black senior leadership. The only people that we saw of color were in the cafeteria, maybe a secretary or two.
When you say raising y'all voices, like what was y'all doing? What were y'all trying to fight for, like funding or something?
We were fighting for funding. We were fighting for faculty of color.
Really? The students was fighting for faculty?
Students, yes.
Really?
We went to the administration. There were no Black fraternities and sororities on campus, but it was a big Greek campus, but no Black Greeks.
Oh, wow.
Still none to this day.
Wow.
So we were petitioning. We were going to the president. We were going to the provost.
Wow, there's like, get these Black students off our campus.
But you know what was funny?
What?
We started it, but other people joined in.
Oh, wow.
As typically happens. From the campus.
That's good. So you got a lot of support from your peers? A
lot of support, a lot of allies.
Oh, wow.
And it was in that moment that I realized that my voice could make a difference. Right? That it could be one person, two people, that leadership made a difference. That if we petition the right people, and guess what? The next year we had 2 faculty of color.
Wow.
And then after that, and I don't mean just Black faculty, international faculty from various backgrounds. And I took that with me. So that informed my graduate experience, and that informed my experience as a professor myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to be what I didn't have in college. So that's why I got a PhD. Literally, I got it because I wanted to provide a richer experience and difference, you know, not just a Black background, but a Black woman from Eastern Kentucky. Like all of those things together made up such a rich and unique experience for me. I wanted my students to get that when they came into classes. And I'm telling you, I flipped my campus upside down in a good way. It was amazing.
Really?
Yeah. And so they started touting me to do workshops on campus. And then people in the larger community heard what I was doing. So then they hired me to start working with their organizations. So that's kind of how I got into consulting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I have not heard that part of the story.
Oh, okay.
Because, and it's an important missing piece, because it's almost like a genesis moment of like, you have this opportunity with your peers and y'all start lobbying and advocating, and you're discovering your voice, and you're recognizing, like, I mean, were you like the leader of the crew?
One
Is
of
that
them.
one of them?
You know, it's funny. I was the chaplain.
The chaplain? Oh, were you really?
Yeah,
God.
So,
but still doing like advocacy work though. So it wasn't like
sure.
you were just like doing the Bible studies or
No,
something, or
no,
were
no,
y'all doing Bible studies and stuff too?
no, we weren't doing Bible studies, but we were connecting prayer and advocacy. Like that's what I do now. It was understanding that this is God's work. You know, but no, my best friend was the president of our Black Student Union.
Yeah.
But I was the chaplain, so I was among the leadership. But yeah, we were coming up with the ideas. And to the administration's credit, they were listening to us. You know, they really were. They weren't thinking about it, but they were taking what we were saying, and they were trying to act on it. Yeah.
So, man, there's so much more I want to ask there, like
Okay.
for real. But let me advance it, because I want to get to like the cream of your. What I like to do is like, man, when you've been in doing something for 20 years, you know, there's stuff that you see or that are so repetitive, you know, in terms of people trying to solve similar problems, nonprofit organizations, you know, having similar challenges. And so what are some of the patterns that you've seen over the years as it comes to, you know, equitable spaces, leadership that's diverse and innovative? Where are some of those common pitfalls that you've seen over the 20 years? I would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah. So, and I'll just preface it by saying I've worked across industries. So I've worked for physics organizations, arts organizations, broadcasting, schools, you know, nonprofits, churches, et cetera. These are some of the commonalities. Organizations have wonderful intention, but they don't always know how to make real impact. And so I hear a frustration a lot of times from people who are on the ground doing the work, because the board might approve a little bit of money to do some work, but then not really commit to making the kind of change that's going to really impact both the organization and the communities that they serve, right? So what that looks like practically is, yes, we want to be more intentional, but we don't really want to change our hiring practices, right?
We will, but not that. Keep going. What are some other examples? This is good.
Yeah. Other examples is we want to hire more people who create inclusion, whether it's, you know, across all kinds of differences, but we don't necessarily want to be trained on how to do that. We want to keep doing what we've always done. So then when we get what we have always gotten, it's like, well, see, there aren't enough qualified Black people. There aren't enough qualified. I mean, I remember working with an organization, a school, and they were hiring in the chemistry department. And what they concluded, because there were not really a lot of diverse candidates, was, well, there just aren't a lot of people of color who are doing chemistry. Okay, well, where did you advertise for your position, right? Because it matters. There's a whole group of Black chemists, for example. Did you pull those folks, right? How wide a net did you cast? Typically what we see is people in their own circles trying to find, candidates. Well, most people are in the same circle. It's very homogenous. So, the same kinds of people are with one another. And so you're not going to get a whole lot of difference. So you have to be very creative and innovative in terms of where you're even searching for these people. And I've seen that in all kinds of organizations. I've seen organizations where they're a little better at diverse staff, but they're bored all the same kind of people. And that's a cross race, class, skill set, industry, right? You have to be intentional about your impact. I've seen that. I've seen nonprofits where, for example, I worked with a nonprofit where they were, it's a broadcast company and they have radio stations, right? They want diverse audiences, but they play the same kind of music, right? And when they start, so for example, classical radio station. Now we know a lot of the traditional classic composers are your Bachs and your Mozarts, right? White males typically. Well, they wanted to diversify their listening audience. So they started playing music with composers of women and composers of people of color. And this is the courageous leadership that I've been talking about lately that happened. Some of their donors and their listeners called in and said, we don't want to hear this. They said, too bad. This is what we're doing, right? So they had to courageously know that that might impact their funding. Some of their listeners might not tune into them anymore, but they had made a commitment that they wanted to reflect the audience that they wanted to draw.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have some thoughts on this, but I know there's going to be people that are listening that are like, I was formerly before I had conversations with, people like yourself, but how speak to this conversation in a way that some people don't feel like it's literally just like, give Black people and people of color positions of authority, help us. Like there's a true greater opportunity that happens when you have diverse, inclusive leadership, right? So speak to the results of it, the why of it, because I think so many people hear this conversation and it sounds like, just put more Black people in. And I worked at a university where all their efforts was just like, let me showcase diversity, but not let me have it embedded in my culture.
Absolutely.
And I think, people settle for that. So can you speak to that a bit?
Absolutely. And let me just tell you, I've been the person on the flyer. Okay.
Have you? Me too. To put up the picture, me cheesing with the.
Right. You're the lone person. And they're like, look, we've got these Black people here. And you become the, I hate the term token, but people certainly, use that. You are the representative. This is what we know from research though, Darryll. Diversity breeds innovation, creativity, richness of experience and background. And the other thing that I want to say is diversity isn't just race. When we dissolve it down to that or minimize it to just the one thing, then it does become, let's check these boxes and let's just give these people a hand. Can I just be real clear to everybody who's listening? When we think about diversity, we're talking about diversity of skill and background and experience and region. My culture, being from Appalachia, is so rich in community. Like that's the first thing I learned. Before I knew that I was a person of color, I knew that I was part of a bigger community that cared. That informs me. That is the lens by which I approach my work. That's not my Blackness. That's my Appalachianness, if you will, right? And that lends a richness of experience that I think organizations can benefit from. When we think about today, we've got 5 generations of people working together. That's never happened before, from boomers to alpha, right? That's understanding that and being intentional about that experience and that skill set and that background, that also brings a richness of work together and sort of what businesses can produce. So the short answer to your question is this: it's not just about one group having a hand and let's get them involved. It's understanding that all of these groups together, that's what makes richness of experience. That's what brings these ideas that a boomer is going to have a very different idea than an alpha, but we need both of them.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I'm talking about, that if we understand the importance of all of us working together, that's going to have the best outcome.
Yeah.
Research also shows that when we have just the same group, you know, one demographic, that it's going to be one note, one way of thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Let me give you this really quick example. I was working with an organization, manufacturing company, and there were women. They had certain ideas about where women should work or not, right?
Okay.
Especially
heavy lifting
kinds of things. So women couldn't advance.
Yeah.
They really didn't have anywhere to go. And so the women went above the management who were making those decisions. I don't know, you know, somehow got to the head and was like, listen, we have ideas about this. We really should think about automating this in a different way. They did, right? So the company's sales went through the roof the next year. They were able to produce and manufacture way more than they ever had been able to do that. Now, somebody could simply look at that and say, oh, this is about gender. This is about feminists and women's lib or whatever people say today. But it wasn't. It was about innovation. These women had ideas about how they could be utilized. And because the leaders were courageous and did something that they didn't ever do before, the company grew. It increased in sales, right? What business owner wouldn't want that? Yeah.
Man, this is so good. I'm one of the things that keep resonating is like you keep repeating this theme, courageous leadership.
Yeah.
And what I'm noticing now, and just the way that keeps coming up, is how much, you know, from when you come in and help these organizations and do strategy and move them from intention to impact, it's like courage is what fills the gap, right?
Yes.
Because whatever is, you know, missing, whatever is not optimized in their hiring process or how they're training, or their board, their governance structure, their culture, it's going to require courage. I'd love to speak to, you know, why does it require courage? Why is it not just simple? Why is it not just easy? Why is it not just, okay, that makes sense. Diversity drives innovation, revenue, and all the other things you mentioned. So why is it require courage instead of just plain old common sense?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think a big part of it is because there are so many pressures, especially in 2026. Like, I've been doing this a long time. I've never, and it's cyclical, right? We can say, oh my gosh, it's never been like this. Probably hasn't been to this degree, but it's always been cycles of, because I can think about some of the things we're dealing with now. I dealt with it in college. I dealt with it. You know?
I don't know why people say that, man.
Yeah.
I don't know why people say that. But anyways, I'll get off on the train because my personal vendetta on that is I think it does, and you don't have to agree with this, by the way, but I think it does our forefathers a disservice when we say things have not changed. You know, I do think there are similar patterns that we can point to over history.
For sure.
But I am married to a white woman. My last name's Stinson. When we lived in Georgia, we stayed 2 hours away from the plantation whose my last name comes from.
Wow.
And I couldn't help but to think, if nothing changed, then how are me and my wife able to have an interracial marriage 2 hours away from the plantation that would have lynched us if we did?
Wow.
So things have changed. We are not there. We haven't arrived. Yes, you can call, you know, incarceration the new Jim Crow or whatever. Like all that's true.
Sure.
But I still think we're moving the ball forward. And I think that people have helped us. And I think the more we remind ourselves of how we're progressing, we stop building from a disempowered narrative and start building from an empowered one.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's another piece I want to enter here is that, and our history did not start with slavery.
100%. Right.
You know, and so it's like there's level of this is what we are. We're still reclaiming. We're still rebuilding from that, and it's like if you think that in your mind you are, but what about the fact that you got snatched from royalty and entered slavery? So you're not actually rebuilding, you're remembering the royalty you were.
Correct. That's so good.
Woo, come on, don't play with me.
That's so good.
Okay, so let's go back to your stuff. Because I had to get that. It just frustrates me, man, because we're trying to make so much impact. And in my opinion, this is one of the things that is an undertone that requires the leaders to have the courage that you're saying, because this is the backlash they get.
Yeah.
The moment that organizations, especially predominantly white ones, start to, oh, we're going to do something about diversity or inclusion, or you can even like wrap it in the label of belonging now. They then become a target for people who have been abused in toxic workplaces, right? The moment they say something wrong. And I don't think there's enough grace for white people to be like, and I say white people because I, Darryll Stinson, as a black man, have said some very offensive things. I think you corrected me on some stuff as a coach that you hired.
Sure.
I'm coaching you for your speech, and I'm like, oh, say this. And you're like, oh, that's very offensive.
I ain't saying that.
And I'm like, it is. So I don't know what's in there for you to speak to, but it's so important. Speak to something in there.
No. So a lot that you said, I think it is important to know, again, we've been here before, but we're not where we used to be. We're not starting at the beginning. And there are lots of people, this is what I mean by courage. I believe that there are lots of people who are even sitting at their dinner table, even now saying, oh man, I don't like this, or I don't like the way this is. I believe that with everything in me. They need permission to be courageous.
Yes.
They need permission.
Yes.
How do they find permission? Being connected to other courageous people, right? To your point, being given grace to make the mistake, but because their intention is good, you're encouraging them to lead. Guess what? I've been doing this for a long time. I make mistakes all the time. I think the difference is individuals who say, you know what, I made the mistake. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to do better. That to me takes courage. Courage and vulnerability, as we know, go together. In what I do, I use a lot of vulnerability in my own mistakes, in my own past. Again, I think that empowers leaders to be able to say, listen, I'm not going to get it all right, but I am right in my intention. I've said this before and I'll say it here. I don't think leaders need more strategy necessarily. I've worked with a lot of organizations. They've got great strategy. They don't necessarily need a lot of influence, but they need courage.
They do.
They need to give themselves permission, not just to make mistakes, but to forge a path. I'm very pleased in saying that a number of organizations that I've worked with have won awards. Right? And they've become the model for other organizations who said, I love what you're doing. Show us, help us, right? What strategy did you use? How did you onboard your new employees? How did you shift your board? How did you get more people of color and other kinds of groups to be a part of what you're doing? Like, I'm so grateful for that. And it wasn't me. I'm the coach, right? I'm the person that can help bring the tools. But if they don't do it, because I've also worked with organizations, Darryll, where they pay me good money. Trained them, did all of these things, but by default, they went to that was easy.
I know.
Because of pressure from society or other groups. And then they complain, oh my gosh, we're not doing what we wanted to do. Well, you got to do it. You can't just say it. You have to make those hard shifts.
I know, man. Wow. What I feel in my body right now is challenged. In terms of just leadership, because, even in my own leadership, I could be way more inclusive or diverse. And I have my own stereotypes a lot from just hanging around the people I hung out with, it's so funny. I'm learning how powerful women are in business when in my growing up, they were always like just the assistants, And now I'm like, no, they need to run the company because they understand emotional talents, they leadership, they own it. These dudes got their head all the way here. They narrow vision. They don't got no EQ. And I'm like, that's why 70% of my clients are women right now because these dudes too scared to be vulnerable. But man, so I feel challenged to look at some of my own paradigms. What I'm thinking right now, and a great way to sort of land this here, is because I think people have enough. Like moving from intention to impact, looking at our hiring practices, looking at how we're training, seeing diversity beyond just ethnicity, and also into, gender, and also into, different pockets of influence and cultures as well. Massive conversation. And I think your story around, this, you have, what's that movie? Hidden Figures. You remember that?
Yeah.
That's what that reminded me of, y'all at the campus with the 24.
That's right. That's right.
And to see that you're still doing that work today. So for number one, it's very obvious that, you're an expert at this. And if anyone's struggling or really wants to step into the future with greater innovation, they know it's going to require courage, that you're not just a great speaker, you're a great consultant and a great person to have in their corner. And for those people that are like, man, I want to do something today. Where do they start? What would you walk them through? Like, hey, if you're looking to, step into this courageous, inclusive, diverse, broader way of galvanizing a team and cultivating an organizational culture, where do they begin? How do they find their gaps? How do they know where to expand and find the opportunities for innovation?
Yeah, I think they need to do an audit.
Yeah.
A cultural audit on their organization. They need to listen to the people they're working with. So an audit is both external and internal. So I'm looking at policies, I'm looking at procedures. And I do want to speak to something very briefly that you talked about earlier. People can kill buzzwords. They can kill the words that feel the most polarizing. I don't subscribe to you have to use these words, because I've been doing this a long time. Words have been changing over time. But this work has to be a part of the DNA of the leader in the company, right? We make it a byproduct, but it's not.
It's not.
It should be inherent to who you are, right? It should be inherent to what the organization thinks about. So the same way you do other audits, do a cultural audit. What do my policies and procedures look like? I'm looking over the last 10 years, who are the kinds of people that we've hired?
That's good.
Right? What's the language that I'm using in my training?
That's good.
Those kinds of things. And then listen to the people that you're working with. I find that staff typically have a different perspective than the leaders. Staff, they're going to tell you like it is. They may not say it to their boss, but when I have these, I have focus groups and listening labs.
Oh my God.
They're letting me have it. They're telling me.
They are.
Yeah. And it's not out of ill will. It is, man, we want to be better. We want to feel safe. Psychologically safe in this environment. I want to be able to speak up and not feel like it's going to be looked down upon, or I'm going to get some kind of, there's going to be retaliation. Like, I want to show up as my full self. And we need to make sure that environments are ripe for that, because if I can be my full self, I can work the best, right? I can be the best at what I do. But if I'm showing up and I'm intimidated, or I feel like this is dead end, I don't have any opportunity to advance because of my background or where I come from or where I went to school, why am I going to show up as my best self every day, right? So there's so many components to this. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, but I do think, again, people have to be intentional and strategic. And an audit is going to help with that. Listening to the employees is going to help with that.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. Woo! I told you she's fire. Dr. Matisa, I say this thing on a lot of guests, and hopefully nobody's watching me so close that they don't see when I don't say it. Because it's not always intentional. Sometimes I just forget. But I try to say, if I'm going to bring somebody on to interview once, somebody worth interviewing once is worth interviewing twice, And I think if you interview somebody the first time, you only can get the first layer, And then the next time you go layer 2, the last time you go layer 3. And for me, that's really where you get the wisdom that can only be caught, not just taught.
Yes.
Okay. And so y'all, we got to have her back so we can catch more than she's teaching us right now. But if you're a nonprofit leader, an organization, a church, or a woman that needs to be in mentorship, and you're like, "Ooh, she my people. She's speaking to me." All her information is here on the screen and in the show notes. Her social handles, her website, links to her book. make sure you grab that. And man, I would love to hear what you're taking away from this conversation. We talked about a lot, moving from intention to impact, our hiring practices, having diversity in our boards, the true definition of what diversity means. And then practically, if you don't know where to start, do a cultural audit, listen to your employees, listen, conduct focus groups, get the truth out of your people because the truth is in them. And they'll say it. What I heard you say is that it's not ill-willed.
Yeah.
It is like, oh, they actually care. They're actually listening to me. Okay, cool. Well, I'll be honest. And so that's a great place to start. So we love you. And until next time, remember, keep seeding greatness.